What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Just a Brit Abroad podcast. It's me, Greg. We're episode 5 now. I'm actually surprised that we've got this far, but I'm really glad we have because today I'm joined by a really, really cool guest that I think lots of you guys are going to know. She's been killing it on YouTube recently with the Swedish, kind of comparison content. You really need to go and check her out if you haven't already. You're about to find out a lot more about her and about her experiences on The Bachelor here in Sweden, as well as her experiences as a content creator and the comparisons between living in Sweden and living in America. So make sure you watch this episode, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know all of your honest feedback down in the comments below. Okay, let's go on with the interview. We are episode 5 already. Really didn't think we would get this far, but today I'm joined by a super guest that I'm sure lots of you guys are going to recognise. You've probably seen her on YouTube. She's all over the place. She's killing it with her videos. I'm joined today by Meagan Nouis. Hey, Meagan.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, not at all. It's great to have a little bit of your time. And I feel like for those people, the few that live under a rock that don't know who you are yet, do you want to just give us a little bit of a background to who you are, how you came to even be in Sweden in the first place? Why are you here?
Oh my gosh. A lot of people ask me why I'm here, and then I don't have an answer. I feel my answer is that okay, so I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I first visited Sweden in 2012. I was actually studying abroad in Italy at the time, and I'd always wanted to visit Sweden. Finally, while I was studying abroad, I took a 1-week trip during our fall break, decided to go to Stockholm, and it was just an immediate oh my gosh, this is where I belong. It was a gut feeling, and I've never felt anything like it. And so I decided right there, I need to move to Sweden. And so I came back after studying abroad, and I came home and found out that literally in my own city was the American Swedish Institute. And I could not believe it was just a mile away. And I started volunteering there, started taking classes, got a job there. Then I moved to Stockholm for a few months in 2014. And that was kind of the final, okay, I lived in Stockholm for 3 months, and that solidified it. So I've just always felt like I need to be here. I don't know why. And my family doesn't get it either. But yeah, it's been amazing.
What an interesting connection straight away. And I mean, obviously, as you say, Stockholm is beautiful, so I can totally understand why you were drawn to it. But I guess also, is there something that a lot of people I talk to from England at least say that one thing they really like about Sweden is you feel really connected to nature and the natural world. Is that something you can relate to?
It's actually really funny you say that, because I've never been an outdoor person ever until moving here. I feel like there was something that changed once I got here, and I think it's because I feel like being in nature is just part of the culture here, versus I feel like where I'm from in the States, there's lots of people that enjoy being outside, but that's more of a personality thing, versus here it's just something you do. It has a different perspective of it, I guess. And since moving here, I love going out into the woods and going out to lakes and stuff like that, and I never used to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. As you say, it's also the same in England. It's there's a personality trait who is the active person, the active guy or girl, whereas here it's you're the odd one out if you don't do that stuff.
Definitely. And I also think another reason why I fell in love with Stockholm is it's part of the city. The fact that it's built on islands and you're always around the water, and the forests are always just kind of embedded into the different cities. Especially here in Örebro, there's some parts of town where you go in one direction and you're in town, and you go the other direction and you're in the woods. It's just inside the city, which yeah, I love it. So it's almost like you can't escape it. And I think that's why you can be a city person, which I am. I'm definitely a city person, but you can also be outdoorsy as well. So it's a nice combination here.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, you're in Örebro, which of course is like a super nice area of the country. With you've got the castle right in the centre with the little moat around it, and as you say, such great access to water and nature and things like that. How did you, if you fell in love with Stockholm, do you mind me asking, how did you end up over in Örebro?
After I lived here in Stockholm, I had to figure out like, okay, what's my plan? Like, how can I actually move here full time? And so trying to find a job was impossible. I mean, basically, if you have like a background in computer science, or if you have a really like high tech type of field, like then you could maybe get a job here. But my background was much more creative. I did video stuff. I did like communications marketing stuff, and I wasn't fluent in Swedish. So that was the other thing. Like, no one's going to hire me for like a communications job if I can't speak Swedish. So yeah, so I was looking at my other options, and really like, unless I had found a Swedish person to marry when I was living in the States, like my other option was to go to school. And so I decided it was time to get my master's degree, which I never planned on getting. Honestly, Örebro was like, it had a program I was interested in, and it was almost like, it was maybe like 2/3 of the cost compared to other places. I have to pay tuition. I feel like everyone needs to know that. I have to pay tuition.
Oh gosh, yeah, of course.
I keep forgetting. I'm like, oh yeah, I like most people. I think everyone from the EU is like free tuition here if you go to school. And a lot of countries qualify for scholarships. And specifically, I think like the US, Canada, and Australia don't count for scholarships.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what?
Of course.
Yeah, I was kind of out of luck, and so I really had to go based on financial reasons, and I was happy to try a new city. Like, I love Stockholm. I was definitely interested in some schools there, but Örebro is like, you looked at when you see some of the photos of like the castle and everything, I was like, I'll try it. Don't know anything about it, but I love it here. It's been really, really nice. I'm gonna ask, have you been here before?
Yeah, a few different times actually. So I'm based down in Östergötland, also in a smaller city. And then when I first started visiting, I should say outright that my girlfriend is Swedish, so that's why my connection is here. But when I used to come and visit, it was always like, okay, she studies here, and I was thinking on the days that maybe she has classes or seminars or things, how do I get out and really enjoy myself so I'm not just sat in the flat being like a loner on my own? And then it became like this mission that I kind of set myself. Every time I had to find somewhere new to visit. And Örebro is one of the places that is only 2.5 hours away from me, so I've been several times at all different times of year.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Super
very
gorgeous.
Cool. The fact that you were able to like pick places to go to, I feel like that's what I normally do, and then COVID happened right away. You've been here longer than I have, I think. I moved here in August 2019. You said, how long have you been there?
February 2019, so fairly similar.
Oh, but you had the whole summer and everything. Oh, nice. Yeah. I would love to do the same thing, like just pick a town and let's go. But I know I've been kind of stuck here or at least, I haven't had a chance to really explore other cities.
As you say, although that's so unfortunate with the whole COVID thing, I feel like the whole last year we can just kind of wipe off. When people say to me, how long have you been in Sweden? I say, well, 2 years officially, but I guess 1, because the last year I did nothing. So, but at the same time, I guess it's also maybe given you quite a nice opportunity to kind of see another side of the local culture as well, where you can't obviously go out and explore the rest of the country as much as you'd like. So I would love to dig a little bit deeper into, your impression of Swedish culture, Swedish society, and how it's different from America. I'm thinking, first arrived, got off the plane, you're living here properly for the first time, first impressions.
Culture-wise, I feel like I was prepared for, I guess, Swedish behavior, or, I was pretty used to it at that point when I first came here, but the city itself was a bit different. There's no canals. It's fairly flat. Like, I know Stockholm, you can really have some nice viewpoints if you like on Södermalm and everything. And I guess I had to buy a bike right away. That was a big difference because like in Stockholm, I would just take the tunnelbana and yeah, and like buses.
But I agree with you. I think there's also a thing that comes with living in quite a big student city as well, in that it is kind of more built up for that kind of inhabitant, I guess, in some way. So it's like, although Stockholm is obviously this like super like international capital with tourists all over the world and lots of like hustle and bustle, I guess the same as maybe one of my first impressions, for you it must have been like coming to Örebro. It's one of the biggest cities in Sweden, but in comparison to what we're used to, it's not that big.
Yeah, and I would say that like I did find it really tough to make friends here that weren't also like international students. All of my friends when I moved here were, yeah, basically not Swedish. They were all from different parts of Europe or the world. And we were all in this together as like, we're international students here. And I had an amazing friend group. And then COVID happened and literally they all left. And I was like left behind here because I wasn't going to go back to the States. Like, to me, I was like, oh, I'll just stay here. But for people that are maybe from Germany, they're just like, oh, well, it's just a couple hour flight. And of course, the plan was that they would come back when the 2-week thing was over, or like month long thing. Oh, they never came back, unfortunately. Well, and also we were just in a 1-year program, so they didn't have like a reason to come back here. They were just going to do school and be done. And for me, I knew I'd do school and then stay here longer. So yeah, that was really hard. Was once all of my friends, like all of them left on the same week, it seemed like, and then I had nobody. It was just like I know some people in Sweden, but they're more in Stockholm and everything.
Of course. No, I feel like that's such a relatable experience here in Sweden. So many international people talk about they come and yeah, it's quite, obviously COVID aside, it's quite okay to make international friends, whether they're studying, whether they're working, we're all over the place and we're all kind of in this together looking for, some sort of sense of community and making friends in your new country. And then infiltrating Swedish society is so much more difficult. And I've always wondered why that could be. And I guess part of it has got to be just because, let's be honest, it's probably the same if, like back in England where I'm from, I've got my own little friendship group. I'm not going out looking for new friends as, frequently as maybe you are if you've just moved. But also there's clearly like some sort of cultural thing here about like, the culture of when you want to book a fika, you book it a week in advance. People have got very set ideas about their plans and what they're doing with their week, and maybe it's just a bit harder to find like a way into that.
Like in Stockholm, I think you have more opportunities to maybe join a local like I don't even know, like a paddle team or something like that,
Yeah.
Like that's when you can really meet people, is find your hobby, then go to some sort of group. And here it's like, yeah, it's a bigger town, but they don't have everything. And so I found like a board game night, and I was really excited. That was like one of the first times that I showed up. It was all Swedish people, and so I was like, nice. I really felt like I was being one of the locals. And again, this was like 1 month before COVID, so then that was it.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's tough. I think especially in a place like this where there's just not clubs for everything. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing like, what do people do if they want to meet new people around here? Like, maybe I haven't found that out yet.
You talked earlier about, when you first got here, you didn't, have any knowledge of Swedish. Is that something that you've been trying to focus on since you arrived?
So I started learning the grammar and everything back in 2013, I think. And then I lived in Stockholm that was the first time I really got to like practice some Swedish. But what I've noticed is like, I've always been someone who's way too nervous to even try it, like, which is why it took me so long to finally feel more comfortable or get to the level I'm at now. So and then I went, after living in Stockholm, just kept studying the language at home. And so I became pretty confident with like reading it, and reading would have been the first thing that like you can kind of get down pretty quickly. And then the listening was getting better, but speaking has always been the hardest. And so, but then I moved here in 2019 thinking like, okay, I'm going to get fluent so fast. And I remember right around Christmas time, I went home to the States for the holidays, and I like broke down because I was like, I've been in Sweden for 4 months, and I do not feel like my Swedish is any better than when I'd first moved here. And that was just so disappointing to me, because that was like one of my main goals, is like, I want to be fluent. After all these years of just studying at home, like, now is the time. I guess then I finally... I met my sambo that I'm with right now, and even after he and I started like seeing each other, I didn't speak Swedish to him for like a month. Like, I didn't even try. I was like, I know we're dating, but like, you're not ready to hear me speak Swedish yet. Now it's been another year, and I notice I feel like it was sometime around November, December of 2020. Like, I finally had this big moment of like, I really feel like I can do Swedish now. It was like, not fluently, but like I noticed a huge, like I jumped. I'd been plateaued for so long, and then I finally felt this increase. And now, yeah, that's been really crazy, is when like each day, how much more I'm starting to hear people speak Swedish, and I'm like, I know exactly what you're saying. I feel like normally I'd miss like half of it, like if they run words together, I'm like, oh, I didn't hear that because that was like a lot together, but then you'd catch words. And now it's like, I know every word they're saying.
No, of course. And you talk about, obviously, the Sambo experience. Do you guys talk a lot of Swedish now then?
Yes, but probably not as much as we should. And it's because I'm too scared to try it. And then, of course, I think the classic Swedish behavior or something is like, oh, well, I like speaking English and I can speak English. So then he just speaks English with me, which is great, but also not very helpful. So, and that's fine. Like, it can get very exhausting mentally to try and speak Swedish all the time. And so, yeah, I try to really go for it. It's been building every day. I feel like now, maybe even like a couple hours in a row, we can just really just do Swedish, and then I'll kind of like, I'll get so tired that we just switch to English after that. So
but still, that's so super impressive. Can totally relate to that, because I feel like, as you mentioned earlier, we are in one way quite fortunate that the grammar with English and Swedish is fairly similar. It could be a lot more difficult, and I often, when you go to SFE or something and you see these people that have come over from the Middle East or Asian countries and Chinese, for example, and they're writing, on a totally different alphabet, totally different way round, and now they've got to try and orientate their heads. I have so much respect. I do not know how you do that. Whereas, as you say, with us, we have that advantage. We have the similar grammar structure and things like that. But it also seems to lead to one extreme or the other. You hear lots of English-speaking people that say, I tried, but as you mentioned, lots of Swedes speak such great English, so I didn't really need to. Or you find the people that, like yourself, have gone to the other extreme and have really tried to immerse yourself in it and go to town. So I think there's a lot of kudos owed just to that moment and the fact that you persevered despite the fact the Swedes tried to speak English to you all the time.
It's been a struggle, but a lot of it I know is just like from within too. It's like I also am too scared to challenge myself, and so it's like I always have a lot of respect for the people that love learning languages and can just like go for it. Mm-hmm. They can be a beginner and then just try Swedish. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm too scared. Because then I get way too nervous because I'm slowing the conversation down, and then I'm making mistakes, and then when I finally say what I want to say and they look at me like they didn't understand anything, I'm like, oh no.
So demotivating. And I've noticed, I work here as well, and I've, a couple of times I've been sat in meetings with Swedish colleagues who, from now on, I do a lot more speaking Swedish at work than I used to. And you sit there and you kind of reel out this little speech that you've just tried to segment together in your head, and you're like, great, I've done it, that made sense, it sounded good, and then you stop, and there's this Swedish tradition where everyone sort of goes silent for a moment, and everyone's looking blank back at me at the Zoom screen, and I think, tumbleweed goes past. Has anyone understood anything, or did I just speak Spanish?
That is something that I've noticed as well, where I finish saying whatever it is. This could be in English too. I don't think it matters what language, but you say it, and then they just they just wait. You're like, oh no. And then they'll finally start talking. But at that point, I might have started talking again too, because I'm like, oh no, they're not saying anything. I should keep going.
Oh, but I mean, at least you tried, and that's the main thing. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
also really, really appreciated here. But as you say, because everyone does speak English, you do get a really nice reaction. Well, you get two responses. You go into a shop, an Ica or something, you try and speak Swedish. They recognise straight away that your accent is totally wrong, and then they just say, "Oh, you need aisle 4 in English." Or you get the other response, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's so cool that you tried."
I've had it too. Yeah, they switched to English they switched to English without even like asking or anything. They'll know right away, like, oh, this is an English speaker, and like right away I'm just like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, like, oh, you could tell, dang it. I try really hard to get rid of my American accent when I speak, and I do appreciate, I had a bunch of comments on my video where I spoke Swedish, and my favorite comments, I swear, they're the ones that are like, I couldn't even tell you were in like an American accent. I'm like, yes. They'll say like, you sounded like Finnish or this. They'll say I sound like anything but Swedish, but I'm like, I'll take it. Like, just trying to get rid of the American accent.
Yeah, I've had totally similar experiences, and someone says like, "Oh, you sound Danish," and I'm like absolutely overjoyed, and then I tell my Sambo or someone at work, and they're like, "That's not a good thing."
No. Oh my gosh. So yeah, like other than living in Stockholm when, like Stockholm was the first time I was living around Swedish people and hearing Swedish all the time. And then after that, the next experience would have probably been The Bachelor, because that's when I was also just completely surrounded by Swedish people all the time too.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, we've got to get into that because I mean, I didn't know until I found your Instagram and your YouTube channel that you've been on The Bachelor. How did that come to be? What's the story there?
It's a crazy story. So this was 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago right now. I think we filmed in South Africa, which was amazing. Yeah, and we flew out like April 26th or something, 2019. Yeah. But no, what happened was I had actually I applied for a totally different show. There's a show called Allt för Sverige, which is where they literally take Americans with Swedish heritage and then they fly them to Sweden and then they try Swedish cultural stuff and then they find old distant relatives that they've never met before. And I was like, heck yeah, like, sign me up. Yeah. I'm thinking like, I mean, sure, I'd love to go to Sweden and everything like that. So I applied for that show. And I had an interview. I got like some replies being like, yeah, like let's, they wanted to talk and it went really well. Like they really, really liked me. And so I was going through the audition process and then they called me and they're like, Meagan, we were going through your application and we don't know how we missed this, but you've lived in Sweden before. I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're overqualified for the show. They're like, you know a lot about Sweden. I'm like, yeah, but that's why I wanted to go on the show.
Exactly.
They want Americans who don't know anything about Sweden because then they can like try all these things for the first time.
Okay.
And so I was just like, what if every time feels like the first time? Like I love
I'll just
Sweden.
act shocked.
Like, I promise you I'll be just as excited to try whatever it is.
For the fourth time.
Yeah, it's like, we don't need to know how many times I've done this. Like, but yeah, so they said I was overqualified. And of course, I was just like so bummed out. And so I threw out there just kind of as a joke, but like, I was like, well, it's like any other show I could be on, like maybe. And at the time, I think literally the American Bachelor, that was on TV at the time. And so, of course, I was totally invested in that show. And so I threw it out there. It's like, is there like a Swedish Bachelor or something? And the lady I was on the phone with was like, well, actually, we're casting for The Bachelor right now. I'm like, and I didn't even know they had a Swedish Bachelor. I was like, what? So she was like, I think you might be a good fit, actually. And I know the girl who does the casting, and I'll pass your name along. And so that happens. Like that whole conversation happens. And I was like, okay, that's crazy, but who knows? 2 months later, I got a phone call. Like nothing happened after that. I was like, okay, I didn't expect anything. And then I get a phone call 2 months later. And I remember I was still in bed. It was like, maybe it was a little bit too late. It was probably like 10 o'clock. I should have been awake at this point. But wait, no, to be fair, I worked overnight shifts at a casino. So I was allowed to sleep in at that time.
It was acceptable.
I had an excuse. But like I wake up and I see oh my gosh, sorry. I'm remembering all the details now. I had applied to universities. This is all that same year.
Right.
So I had applied to Swedish universities, and then suddenly I wake up to my phone ringing, and it's from a Swedish number. So I'm thinking this has to do with my university application, because I was going to find out that week if I got in or not. And so I was like, okay, I was like in bed, so I'm like, hello. And they're just like, hi, is this Meagan? Like, I'm one of the producers from The Bachelor. And I sat up like so fast. I'm like, wait, what? And so they're like, yeah, I got your name passed along to me. And I was wondering if you want to do like an audition for the Swedish Bachelor. Yeah. And so I was like, okay. Sure. This was actually my first insight into customer service in Sweden, which I've complained about before. But like I kept asking them for like, do you have an update? Like when, because they said like, yeah, if you get onto the show, we would fly out end of April. And it started to get to the point where I'm like, okay, it's beginning of April. It's mid-April. Like, and then 10 days before, they're like, we want to cast you for the show. And I'm like, yeah, but you leave in 10 days. I'm like, what? So I had to tell my job. I had to pack. I had to figure out. And the thing with The Bachelor is you don't know how long you're going to be on the show. So like you could be there. Yeah, you could be there for 1 week. You could be there for 2 months. So you don't know what to pack. And so that was so stressful. And then I didn't actually get my plane ticket until like the day before. So I kept thinking like it's not gonna happen. I kept thinking like they're gonna cancel on me or something. And so yeah, the day before I got a plane ticket. I'm like, okay. But then it wasn't until I finally made it through customs and like I was on the other side of the air, like that's in the airport. And I was like, it's real. This is happening. And then it took over 30 hours, or it took like how many hours to get there? Like 36 hours to get there.
That's
I had
mental.
to go to South Africa. Yeah, it was crazy. So, yeah, so that's the story of like how I got on the show, and then being on the show is just, it was both amazing and incredibly emotionally exhausting, which I was prepared for, but it still was. I mean, like, yeah, it's a reality show, and like of course you're only seeing small parts of it, but like behind the scenes it's a lot of just waiting. And it got really frustrating sometimes, just sitting around day after day with nothing to do. Like that was what I struggled with, was like, like, yes, it was beautiful, no complaints there. I had like an amazing view, and I lived in like a villa with a bunch of girls. That part was wonderful, but like I didn't speak Swedish fluently, so it was really tough to make friends, on the show. With like I did make friends, but it was only in English, and I don't know, I did always feel a little left out when I was on the show. But I mean, overall, it was amazing, and yeah, I don't know, it's been a crazy experience because I was on that show before moving here. I moved here, so I was on the show. Then it didn't air until September 2019. So I moved here August 2019. So for a month after moving here, like I was making all of my new international friends. I'm a new student at the university, and like I have this secret that nobody knows about. I wasn't allowed to tell anyone, So for a month, I'm just like, I'm a new student. Like, what's up, guys? I'm from the States. Yeah, don't worry about me, guys. And then all of a sudden, it's like, also, I'm on a reality show, and it airs next week. So So yeah, that was really cool. Really, really fun.
Oh my gosh. And then as you say, obviously then fast forward a little bit and you arrive in Sweden. It's, this secret that you're keeping. Nobody knows that you're about to be on one of the biggest shows in the country. And then you blast onto the screen. Everybody knows who you are. What's that experience like? You must have suddenly got, lots of people start writing to you or, reaching out on socials and stuff.
I will, that's a really good example of what's so different between the States and Sweden is that like I was definitely getting messages, but it was still just nothing compared to what I think people in the States would experience. Like,
Okay.
The Bachelor in the States is huge. And like, if you're on The Bachelor in the US, you're like guaranteed 100,000 followers in like the first month or something, And so I guess I knew it wouldn't be that crazy here, but I was actually surprised that it was a lot more low key than what I was expecting. And I'm fine with that, but it was a surprise to me that I was getting messages and I was getting followers, but it wasn't like this huge blast of like, I don't know, like attention, I guess.
So you went from, this TV star who's getting all of these Instagram followers, and then suddenly you jumped over to YouTube and did something totally separate. What's the story there?
I started YouTube when I was 14 years old, and that's how I learned how to edit videos. Yeah, when I was still in high school, I decided I want to do videography stuff. And then so I was just a teenager making a lot of juggling videos. That was how I got started because juggling was my main like hobby at the time was juggling. And so I was posting juggling videos and I was on YouTube when YouTube, like I remember the original YouTube days, which is really fun to think about and it's just changed so much. And so I was posting videos for a few years and then I had a big switch where like I decided I wanted to do audio production instead. And so then I focused only on audio stuff. So then I worked at like a radio station and stuff like that. And then I got a job after college editing videos. And so then I did video editing for a few years working for a company, and so then after that, I've had a lot of different jobs. And I worked at a casino, did a total switch, but that job was probably my favorite as a blackjack dealer for a few years. Amazing. Yeah, and then I was a student again here in Sweden, and so I've always wanted to do YouTube, but I think for just many years I really was worried about like what I wanted to do for my channel. And I had a lot of just like, I wasn't very confident, I guess. Like I didn't know what to make videos about. And I knew I didn't really have a good like video setup. And so I decided to just, so then I was like, okay, I want to do a video last summer where I did this 2-week Chloe Ting workout challenge. And I filmed it for 2 weeks and then I lost half the footage. It's really, it was very frustrating. So that was going to be my big, like, I'm back, guys. Like, I haven't posted for 7 years, but here I am. And then I didn't because it was that just failed. And so very discouraging. So then I posted my Yule Moose video. That was the first one I posted. And the first couple videos that you'll see, I know that they're not amazing quality in terms of like audio is the big thing. And I knew that. But I also, how long have I been pushing this off? I was like, you know what, just do it. Just put the video out there. You got to start somewhere.
Definitely.
And so I did. And, of course, just got a few views and that's fine. I think I knew I had very low expectations and I think that's what really helped. And, but I really started to like enjoy editing again because I hadn't edited a video for years. And I really was not enjoying editing when I left my job because it was, somebody else's ideas and they were like corporate videos. Like, oh my gosh, if I have to put one more song with like a ukulele and a tambourine, I'm like, I'm so over it. So it was really fun to finally make something I wanted to make and edit it in a way that like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like as long as I think it's funny and I like it, then I was gonna make it. And so, Yeah, and so I just posted a few videos and then I got my microphone, and that I feel like it's not a coincidence that that was then the first video that did well, was my 10 things video. It was like, I got a microphone, and then people were like willing to listen. I was like, okay. So I'm totally convinced. It's like I had a microphone and then now my videos do well. So I don't know if that's part of it or not, but and so it's been crazy because that was just a couple months ago, and then every video after that has just been doing so well. And I don't know what the secret is, because I do, like, of course my subscribers are going up a lot too, but like not at the same rate as the views. Like my videos are getting, it's crazy. I just had my first video pass 100,000 views, and
I saw
it's just,
that. Yeah, congratulations.
it's unreal. Thank you. It doesn't feel real to me because it's like, what? That's a big number. So it's been really fun, but also really interesting that people are just finding these videos. They're not like, I do have subscribers, but where's the other like 100,000 coming from? I don't know. So yeah, it's been really exciting, and like suddenly I feel like this dream that I've had since I was 14 is like coming true, and I don't know. It's been really cool.
Amazing though. Yeah, I mean, you're totally understating it when you say, oh, it's just because of the microphone and the equipment that suddenly I'm getting lots of attention. Because you're doing YouTube in like a totally different way to, I think, it's been done before in this kind of sphere. And also, as obviously someone that started fairly recently, I'm just kind of getting into this world, just starting to understand, who the players are, how it works, things like that. But your style of editing and like the humor and just the personality really comes across. And I think, people really resonate with that. And as you say, clearly there isn't, some golden ticket. Otherwise, you'd be rolling out that formula every time. But people are just clearly connecting to you. And I think that's, got a lot to say about you and the way that you put your stuff together. I would be really surprised if anyone watching hasn't stumbled across you somehow. But if for some reason they haven't, where do they find you on this platform?
I think if you just type in Meagan Nouis, first and last name, I feel like Meagan Nouis is going to bring the channel up. And then I have my Instagram, which I don't update very often, but now that I am starting to get more followers, I do feel like that urge of like, okay, maybe I should share things because people want to see it. I don't know. I actually do post fairly often to my Instagram story, much more than I post to like actual like posts and whatever, but that one's at Meagan Nouis. And so
interesting.
My dad, yeah. Well, because when people ask how to spell my name, I always say like, yeah, Meagan, like Ronald Reagan, and then Nouis, like St. Louis. So that's always like my, what do you call it? Like my pseudonym? Is that what you call it?
I think so.
Fake name. Yeah, so Meagan Nouis, Meagan Nouis. Yeah.
Obviously, as I say, like with your channel and everything you're doing there, super, super fun. I really enjoy it. And as I say, if there is anyone that hasn't found it yet, I encourage you guys to go and check it out too. I will, of course, be leaving the links in the description so you guys can go and do that straight away. Is there anything they should look out for on your channel coming up? Anything you want to plug before we finish up?
Well, assuming this is coming out after Eurovision, this is check out my recent Eurovision video. I have, man, that was a fun one to make. I can't believe I got all the predictions right. That was just crazy. Otherwise, I've got some other ones coming up that I like. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know when my newest videos will be coming out soon, but yeah, the thing is I like to do a lot of fun new stuff. So I always feel like even if the topic doesn't sound interesting, I try to edit it in a way where it will be interesting for anybody. So that's my goal. So even if you're like, oh, that doesn't sound fun, like give it a shot anyway. I'll probably make it ridiculously, like I'll edit it really over the top and it should be fun. So
awesome. Such a good motto to have. Even the most mundane thing can be super exciting. Yeah, so guys, if you haven't been and checked out Meagan's account, you really should. There's some really hilarious videos there, and as we talked about here today, the 10 things lists are a great place to start if you've not been over there yet. And of course, your recent interview with Ash from the Mummers as well was really cool, really worth checking out. And yeah, I guess all that's left to say is thank you so much for your time today and your energy, and I wish you all the best with your channel.
Same, yeah. We'll have to keep up with each other and see see how we're both doing. We're both new, so yeah, it's been really fun and cool. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. Thank you so much. So there you have it, guys. That brings me to the end of this conversation with Meagan. It was really, really fun to talk to her. She had so many interesting experiences to share. I'm sure you will agree. Make sure you smash a like if you did enjoy it. And of course, all of the links you need to go and find her around the internet are down in the description section below. So go and check her out if you haven't somehow not come across her already. As I say, she's killing it right now and you really need to go and check her out. And then if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I'd really appreciate it if you could. Lots more content to come. I'm trying for 2 times a week at the minute. So make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you're the first to know when the next video comes out. And then if there's a guest you would like to see on a future episode of the podcast, you can let me know that good stuff in the comment section below as well. And who knows, maybe you'll see them here next. Anyway, that's it for me for today. Have a good one, whatever you're up to, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, guys.